Roy Mustang and his subordinates. Also in the photograph are Mies Hughes and Alex Louis Armstrong. The state military, Emesutorosu is a Mestra's primary mode of offense and defense. Throughout the history of the country, it has existed to put down uprisings and annex surrounding hostile countries into its borders. It is led by King Bradley, and uses a ranking system common of most real-world militaries. Chapter 1. In the manga, the state military is basically just the puppet force called upon to further the homunculus' plans. Chapter 67. Many of the soldiers' names are taken from the makers of fighter aircraft and airplanes. P176. Frank Archer, Furanku-ch, is a character exclusive to the first anime, introduced as Mies Hughes' replacement. He is cool, calm, and collected, with a love for violence and war. He dreams of becoming a hero on the battlefield, viewing it as a way to rise up the ranks of the military. To this end, he does whatever is necessary to please his superiors, and always ensures that his actions earn him some publicity. Ep 28. As the series progresses, Archer develops an interest in the military's various projects, such as the homunculi, Chimeras, and the Philosopher's Stone. Archer loses the left half of his body when the Philosopher's Stone is created in Lyre, and receives auto-malmodification in order to regain his mobility. After the operations left him mentally unstable, Archer rages through Central, carrying out King Bradley's ordered executions. Rizahawki shoots Archer down, while he tries to kill Roy Mustang. Ep 51. He is voiced by Shayami in the Japanese series, and by Troy Baker in the English dub. Ep 28. Ep 28. Olivia Miller Armstrong, or Ruby Miramusuta, is the older sister of Alex Louis Armstrong. She is charged with leading Briggs Fortress, Boriguzuise, and protecting the country from the neighboring country of Drachma. Unlike her brother, who is cheerful and kindly to all around him, Olivia distrusts everyone when she first meets them, and has no patience for formalities or idle conversation. She is also, similarly, a firm believer in survival of the fittest. This has earned Olivia a reputation within the military, and in Drachma, as one who should not be crossed, though her subordinates hold her in high regard. Because she readily joins them in hostile situations and disregards the orders of superiors if she disagrees, her subordinates will answer only to her. She always carries a sword at her side, and is proficient enough to be able to defeat her brother with it. Chapter 65, 83. Her Japanese voice actress is Iko Sumi. Ep 33. Her English voice actress is Stephanie Young. Olivia crosses paths with the Elric brothers when they arrive at Briggs Fortress. After Sloth infiltrates Briggs, she is able to convince them to tell her about the homunculi that control the military. Chapter 67. To help the Elric brothers combat the corrupt higher-ups, Olivia goes to Central to work her way into King Bradley's inner circle. Once she learns of plans to create an army of immortal super soldiers, Olivia fights against the homunculi. Although she has no direct control of Briggs, her subordinates still operated under her wishes, eventually sneaking into Central to help Olivia take control of the government. Chapter 95, 97. Her most loyal soldiers include Miles, Maruzu, who is a quarter Ishbalan, remaining in the military with the hope to someday change the country's perception of Ishbal, and Buccaneer, Bacania, a large heavyset man who has been shown with two different pieces of automail in the series. Chapter 65. Buccaneer fights Bradley together along with the resistance, but he dies in battle. Chapter 100. Hayman's breeder, Haymansu Buoda, is one of Roy Mustang's most trusted subordinates. He was recruited by Mustang for his high level of intelligence, indicated by his talent with chess and other strategy games. Despite his intelligence, he still has an irrational fear of dogs. Breeder is usually tasked by Mustang with jobs that require he travel abroad. He is transferred to Western headquarters when Mustang's group is broken up by the homunculi. Chapter 61. In the manga, he eventually defects from the military, so that he can help Mustang overthrow King Bradley. Tomoyuki Shimura voices him in Japanese, and Josh Berry in English. Ep 13. Ep 13. In Brotherhood, he is voiced by Biichi Sadao in Japanese, and Jeremy Inman in English. Denny Brosh, Den Burashu, and Mirai Rosu, are introduced when they are assigned to protect Edward Elric. Chapter 10. While Brosh is rather nosy and lazy, Ross is serious with her job. In the manga, Ross is framed by the homunculi for the death of Mizu's. Chapter 30, Roy Mustang stages a prison break and then fakes her death, giving her a chance to flee to Crossing. Before leaving, she asks that her family and Brosh not be told that she is alive so as to keep the secret from getting out. Chapter 41, to repay Mustang for saving her life, Ross later returns to Amestris and helps him wage an assault on Central. Chapter 89, in the first anime, Brosh and Ross later appear in the rebellion against King Bradley, saving various characters from execution. Brosh is voiced by Masayo Harada in the Japanese version of the first series, Yuki Hayashi in the second, and Jim Furonda in the English dubs of both series. Ep 18 Ep 18 Ross is voiced in Japanese by Mitsuki Sega in the first series and Kori Mizuka in the second, and by Meredith McCoy in English. Ep 18 Ep 18 Shizuka was a librarian at the first branch of the Central City Library. Because she spent all day reading the many documents stored there, instead of doing her job, she was fired. She has a photographic memory, and can remember and reproduce anything she has ever read, with word-for-word accuracy. Because of this, after the library burns down, the Elric brothers seek her out to see if she can remember any research papers by Tim Marcon. She transcribes the entirety of his research for them, earning enough pay to last her a year for her troubles. When Mizu's learns of how she helped the Elrics, he hires her to help recreate the criminal records that were destroyed in the fire. Chapter 10, in the first anime, after whose death, Shizuka helps Winry Rockbell discover the identity of Sloth. Naomi Wakabayashi voices her in the first anime, and Gwendolyn Lau in the English dub. Ep 18 Her voice in the second series is provided by Chika Fujimura. Ep 7 Fato Falman, Fat Ferryman, is one of Roy Mustang's most trusted subordinates. He was recruited by Mustang for his innate ability to remember almost every detail, allowing him to act as a sort of recording device that does not leave any physical evidence. Because his intellect is his area of expertise, he does not have much experience in the field, causing him to make rookie mistakes when in a combat situation. He is overly formal, causing some of his comrades to wish he would lighten up. Falman does not play a large role in the first anime, only being another of Mustang's subordinates. Chapter 61, in the manga, Falman is transferred to Northern Headquarters when Mustang's group is broken up by the homunculi. He is subsequently transferred again, this time to Briggs Fortress, where he is given what amounts to janitorial duties. There, he reunites with the Elric brothers, and helps them, and Briggs' forces plan against the homunculi. Chapter 23, 65, he is voiced by Takahiro Murazono in Japanese, and by Carl Hebert in English. Ep 5 in the new series, he is voiced by Kenji Hamada. Ep 13 Kane Fury, King Fire, is one of Roy Mustang's most trusted subordinates. He is overly kind in nature, both to people and to animals. He was recruited by Mustang for his technological expertise. As such, he primarily helps Mustang with communications, both in creating secure lines and tapping into others. He is transferred to Southern Headquarters when Mustang's group is broken up by the homunculi. In the manga, he eventually defects from the military, so that he can help Mustang overthrow King Bradley. Chapter 61, his Japanese voice actor is Tetsuya Shiratori, and his English voice actor is Kevin M. Canali. Ep 13 in the new series, he is voiced by Tetsuya Kakihara. Ep 13 Jane Havoc, Jan Hiboku, is one of Roy Mustang's most trusted subordinates. He is usually seen smoking a cigarette, something that Terakoa developed prior to the series' start, to help Mustang to create fire to fight homunculus lust. He was recruited by Mustang for his loyalty and general sincerity, as well as his above-average shooting skills. Because working for Mustang requires moving frequently, and a complete dedication of time, Havoc has very little free time, and cannot maintain a relationship with a woman for very long. Chapter 61, in the manga, he unknowingly dates Lust, who tries to extract information about Mustang from him. Chapter 38, she is unsuccessful, and eventually reveals her true identity to him. In the course of the attempt to kill her, Havoc is severely injured when Lust stabs him through the spinal cord, leaving the lower half of his body completely paralyzed. Chapter 41, Havoc is then encouraged to find another way to help their cause, and later provides his support by supplying Mustang with whatever supplies they may need from his family's store. Chapter 89. In the second anime, he is healed by Marcos Philosopher's Stone. Yasunori Matsumoto is his Japanese voice actor, and Mike McFarland his English voice actor. Ep 13 in the new series, his voice is provided by Yuji Uda. Ep 13. Riza Hokui, is Roy Mustang's most trusted and dearest subordinate. She often carries out many of the tasks he is too lazy to do, acts as his personal assistant, and protects him from danger. Chapter 4, she holds a strong sense of admiration for him, even willing to put her own life at risk. She also doubles as his voice of reason, keeping cool in heated situations, and scolding him, when he allows his emotions to get in the way. Riza and Roy seem to share a close relationship as she identifies him as her most precious person. Chapter 39, Riza specializes in firearms, particularly sniper rifles, and can hit nearly any target with lethal accuracy. Chapter 7, in the series, she adopts a dog named Black Hay-8, Biraku Hay-8, that she raises with stern discipline. When Hay-8 urinates indoors, she fires a number of warning rounds at the wall around the dog to reinforce that doing so is against established protocol. Volume 3 Gaiden. While Riza does not extend far past the role of Mustang's subordinate in the first anime, she takes on a more central role in the manga. In the form of a tattoo on her back, Riza bears the final notes to her father's work on flame alchemy, and his legacy as an alchemist and Mustang's teacher. After seeing what Mustang was capable of during the Ishbal War with such ability, Riza begs Roy to burn the tattoo, fearing the damage another flame alchemist could cause. Chapter 61, Riza is reassigned as King Bradley's personal assistant, to be used as a hostage, when Mustang learns the homunculi control the state. Chapter 52, when she discovers that King Bradley's adopted son, Selim, is a homunculus as well, she sends her discovery to Mustang in code, as soon as she can. She eventually defects from the military to help Mustang overthrow King Bradley. Chapter 74, Erikoa received various questions regarding the future of her relationship with Mustang, and commented that, while Hawkeye stays with Mustang, a marriage would not be possible due to military regulations. She is voiced by Michiko Niya in Japanese, and by Colleen Klinken but in English. Ep 5 in the second anime series, she is voiced by Fumikawa Rikasa. Ep 1. Mizuhus, Mizuhizu, is an old friend of Roy Mustang's. He works in the military's intelligence division, but spends much of his time using the military phone lines to brag to Mustang about his family. After his daughter, Alicia, is born, he fawns about how cute and talented she is, and bombards others with pictures of her when he sees them. Despite his over-the-top comical tendencies, Hughes is a valuable ally to Mustang's goal of becoming Fora, supplying whatever classified intelligence that may be beneficial. He has also been shown to be a capable fighter, skilled with throwing knives. His general understanding of others' emotions and desire to help them similarly gains the affection of the Elric brothers and their friend Winry Rockbell, as he always offers advice or hospitality to them when they need it. Chapter 14, during one of his attempts to help the Elrics, Hughes learns of the homunculus' control over the country. However, he is shot and killed by Envy, disguised as Hughes' wife, Gracia. Chapter 15, this leads Mustang to further investigate the truth for himself, in hopes of finding the one responsible for Hughes' death. Chapter 16, his death as described by Erikoa was the moment where everyone who read it cried, and so she had to apologize to readers and her assistant for such an event. In the Japanese series he is voiced by Keiji Fujiwara, and in the English dub by Sunny Straight. Ep 5. Yoki is, when first introduced, a corrupt member of the military who imposes heavy taxes on the town of Yaswell, bankrupting its citizens. When the Elric brothers arrive in town, they trick Yoki into giving up ownership of the town and promptly report his actions to the military. Chapter 2, he is stripped of his rank, and lives as a homeless person on the outskirts of Central, where he meets the fugitive Scar. In the first anime, Yoki alerts the military to Scar's location to regain his position, and, in the subsequent raid to apprehend Scar, is killed by lust. In the manga, Yoki is forced to work for Scar under the threat of death. Though he tries to convince those they encounter that Scar is his servant, Yoki does as Scar commands and calls him master. Since he has started following Scar around the country, Yoki has assumed a role as comic relief, often having pain inflicted upon him when he tries to seem superior to others. Chapter 33, Kazuki Yao voices him in Japanese, and Barry Yandel in English. Ep9. A chimera, Japanese literally composite beast, is an alchemical fusion between two or more beings. Chapter 1. While the vast majority of chimeras seen in Fullmetal Alchemist are a cross between two animals, some are humans that have been crossed with an animal. These experiments, performed in secret by the state military to dispose of injured soldiers or those that have taken part in secret missions, endow the human with abilities reminiscent of the animal. Chapter 27. A group of chimeras worked for the homunculus Greed during the series. Bido was crossed with the lizard, allowing him to sneak around and climb surfaces with ease. Because of this, he is tasked primarily with intelligence gathering, and relies on others to defend him. Chapter 25. In the first anime, he is killed during the military's attempt to capture Greed. In the manga, he encounters Lin Yao, the new Greed, who, having no recollections of Bido, kills him. Chapter 82. Dulcetto, Dorichet in the first English anime, was crossed with the dog, giving him an enhanced sense of smell and an unwavering loyalty to Greed. Roa, Law in the first English anime and Loa in the English manga, was crossed with a bull, giving him greater strength, and allowing him to transform into a humanoid bull. He and Dulcetto are killed by the homunculi, while trying to defend Greed. Martel, Marta in the first English anime, was crossed with a snake, and thus can stretch and contort her body to great effect. She uses this ability during her introduction, to infiltrate Alphonse Elric's hollow armor body, and control it from the inside. She remains in Al's body for much of her role in the series, the most prominent reason being that she is safe while in there. In the manga and second anime, Martel is killed during King Bradley's attempt to capture Greed, while being inside Alphonse. Chapter 30. In the first anime, Martel survives this raid, and accompanies Al in his various endeavors. She is ultimately killed by Bradley in much the same way as in the manga, though not before informing Al that Bradley is a homunculus. Ep 40. A total of 4 chimeras are introduced in the manga and the second anime series as Salve J. Kimbley's bodyguards. However, they decide to defect from Kimbley, and join the Elrics to stop Father Zampano in the anime, and Gelso in the anime, are tasked with capturing Scar. Chapter 72, and can transform into a humanoid porcupine who has the ability to fire spines from his back, and a humanoid frog-like creature who has the ability to fire sticky globs of mucus, respectively. Chapter 73. Darius, Derusu, and Hankaru, who were first instructed by Kimbley to help him fight and apprehend Edward Elric. Chapter 77, can transform into a humanoid gorilla and lion, respectively. Chapter 76. The Ishvalans in the second anime, are a religious people, characterized by their brown skin and red eyes. The majority of their population was slaughtered by the state military during the Ishvalan Civil War. The few survivors live as criminals and refugees in various slums across the country, usually leaping at the opportunity to fight against Amestrians. Chapter 7. In the manga, with the help of Ishvalan refugees, the corrected transmutation circle was activated by Scar, and helped return powers to the alchemists. Chapter 105. Mustang and his team work to rebuild Ishbal in the end. Chapter 108. In the first anime, the reformed Amestris give the Ishbalan people their land back, after King Bradley's death. Ep 51. After King Bradley's death. Ep 51. After King Bradley's death. Ep 50.